We are Movie Menu Reviews. Annabelle, all my troubles seem to not go away. I don't know what I need to do, but I believe in Annabelle.
I thought you were going to end with touching you.
Today's menu, we'll be reviewing Yesterday and Annabelle Comes Home.
I thought for a quick minute you were going to end with Annabelle touching you. And I was like, don't.
Let's not go there.
Let's not go there.
No, let's not go there. That's weird.
Was that an original? I've never heard that melody before.
Yes. Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast, live on Facebook.
Yeah, we are.
Thank you so much if you're watching us live or if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
On today's episode, we have a special guest, Landon Coates.
Yay!
Thank you so much, filmmaker extraordinaire. You'll be very familiar with Landon Coates very soon as we interviewed him in our new season for Movie Menu Interviews, which will be out shortly. Right, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
Better be Mike.
Also here, who if he doesn't have it ready, it will be in big trouble. Z!
If I don't have what ready?
The interview ready.
Oh.
Just because.
Yeah. I wasn't involved in that. But thanks.
We need to pass the blame on to someone.
Oh, I see.
And you're the scapegoat right now.
But Mike is always a scapegoat, though.
Yeah.
He is.
The tables are turning.
Oh.
You better be ready.
Yesterday you were... Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
Also here is Mike Stan.
Yay!
Thank you so much, guys.
Welcome, Mike.
So
Thank you.
we have two movie reviews that we're going to cover. So let's go ahead and go straight into them as we don't have time. We don't have much movie news to discuss.
Not really.
So the first movie we're going to do is Yesterday.
Hence the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I did not see, but the rest of you gentlemen did. Correct?
Shame. Yes, I definitely did.
I did.
Yeah.
Just last night.
Yes.
Awesome. So Yesterday, directed by Danny Boyle, story by Jack Barth, and written by Richard Curtis. Here's the plot. A struggling musician realizes he's the only person on Earth who can remember the Beatles after waking up in an alternate timeline where they never existed. Starring Himesh Patel, Lily James, and Joel Fry. All right, guys. Again, I did not see this film, so depending on your spoiler-free review, I would decide this movie is worth a dine and watch in theaters, take out, wait and watch it at home, or leftovers. Go ahead and I'll fall into an accident and go into a timeline where none of you guys exist.
That sounds pretty ideal. Pretty ideal, actually. Yeah, that sounds fun.
So go ahead and let's rate this film. Landon, as our guest, you can go. Oh, wait, actually.
Yeah, did you explain the points?
I did not. So, Landon, as our special guest, you have the option of, not the option, but you have the opportunity to win a point. The points, what they do is if you get up to 10 points, you could come back on our show and do a segment of your choosing of anything that's movie related.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
So once you get to 10 points, you cash them in for that segment, or you could also cash them in for like
Jamba Juice.
Jamba Juice, Starbucks, horchata. There's like a little place on the corner that sells these amazing tortas.
But we're not going to buy you those. We're only going to get you the horchata.
No, we said torta.
Did we say torta too?
We did.
Oh, fine. Okay.
We did. So yeah, there's so many reasons to come back on the show.
There you go.
Perfect. So if you sway me to go for your rating, you get that point. These guys don't get a point.
We do not.
Because they suck.
Well, mainly because we don't want them.
Way to play it off. I didn't want it anyways. I
didn't want the points anyway.
Yeah.
So this review is all on you, Landon.
Yes.
Okay.
So rate this film.
I'm a real Danny Boyle sucker, so I went and saw it dine in just because I want to be supportive. But I would say ultimately it's a takeout movie.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
All right.
Mike.
Yeah.
I had a weird theater experience with this, specifically with the crowd.
Oh.
And I think it kind of I'll say from what I did get to enjoy without distractions, I did enjoy. So for that I'll say.
Was everybody singing along?
No, that wasn't it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would have been a better experience than what you had, right?
It would have been, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a baby?
There was no people were acting like babies.
Curious.
That's always fun.
But I'll say dine-in.
Okay. And I will also say I will agree with Landon. This movie I would not otherwise call it a dine-in because it really does kind of feel like a movie you can enjoy at home. But just because I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie, I say dine-in. I really, really love this movie. It is the best of all worlds. It's got great casting. It's got great directing. It's got great writing. Is it really like a wow, you need to go rush out and watch this movie? Not really, but it is still a fun and enjoyable movie. So if you're trying to avoid the heat, go watch it in theaters.
Now, one thing that I find interesting in this film, and I just realized that today, was that Danny Boyle directed.
Yes, to your disappointment, right?
Well, that Danny Boyle directed the film. Now, I'm surprised because Danny Boyle has, for me, I think he's a pretty big name.
He's a huge name.
I mean, he did Jobs. He did a lot of films.
Steve Jobs, not Jobs.
Yeah, he did.
Gotta clarify on that
Steve
one.
Jobs.
Yeah. Gotta be sure.
And like a slew of great films. And I'm surprised that wasn't like top billing that the film, by the director who directed Slumdog Millionaire.
Well, but also written by the writer of Love Actually. Like it's For Weddings, About Time. Like this is a really big names put together making a small film. And I want to argue that this is possibly an issue with the fact that it's not. They're British. They're more like, I would say, arguably British. I wouldn't say like they're blockbuster directors, right? Because Danny Boyle hasn't really directed a blockbuster
Besides like Sunshine, and that was like 10 years ago,
and
at least.
Literally nobody watched that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I refer to that as one of my favorite movies, and nobody knows that movie. And so I would say that sadly, Danny Boyle has no big star quality.
Well, my question for that, before I got interrupted, is, does his style show in this film? Can you tell that this was a Danny Boyle film without it being even told to you as an audience? Do you get his flavor?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
Yes.
I mean, even you go back to like his really early work, like Life Less Ordinary,
yeah,
where it's like probably the least Danny Boyle film of all the Danny Boyle films, and there's still those Dutch angles. There's still the really creative use of like text and color, and more recently like integrating social media and stuff like that into it. So this movie, I think if you went in probably like you and you didn't know it was Danny Boyle and you watched it and you'd be like, did Danny Boyle direct this? Because there's a lot of moments where it's just like so Danny. So it worked, and it fits well.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the most obvious Danny Boyle things are like the use of text. Yeah. And I think that part
also just the cinematography and visionary, like for me, is like the way he uses color in his films.
Yeah. And I think that, like, again, I feel like we're talking about an indie director here when we clearly we know it's not, but like Danny Boyle learned so much.
Well, he has that aesthetic, that's why.
He does, but he also learned a lot from the Olympics, and there's a moment in this film where, like, as there's big crowds in this film because it's a musician story, and you can tell that he handled those crowds like
he was in charge of directing the opening ceremony.
The Olympics,
really?
Exactly.
The Olympics, back when it was in London.
Yeah, and so I can really tell, even while watching the Olympics, I was like, that's Danny Boyle. Like, clearly Mr. Bean just appeared. Yeah, that's Danny Boyle. Like, there's all these like little things that he does, and it's also a Richard Curtis movie. Yeah, because there's all those very interesting characters that appear out of nowhere, and you're like, that's a Richard Curtis character because he's silly and British, and I love it. And it's like there are moments like that in this film. So yeah, you can tell it's a Danny Boyle movie. And you can also tell that it's an entirely different vehicle, and I think that that's what makes this movie so much fun. But sadly, I think that it's not going to be watched by the masses because it's not a blockbuster film.
So in that sense, do you think it was a mistake to release it in the summertime, where it could have flourished in October, November slot?
I would arguably say that I think that this is probably a movie. But then we're arguing whether or not this is an Oscar contender, right? Because usually you get a lot of Oscar contenders during those times. It's not. I don't think it's an Oscar contender at all.
Unfortunately.
I think there's a couple of. I mean, it's a great rom-com. Yeah, that's it.
Well, if it was going to be in the Oscars, it would be for like music or like cinematography, and
sound
something
composition,
like that. Sound, but
like, this would have served its better if it was on VOD or Netflix or Hulu or Amazon.
No.
I think, for one, the money you're going to spend on getting the Beatles, I would hope that you'd want to do it like a big distribution. But I do say it's a takeout movie that it can be enjoyed just as much watching it at home. But it just feels, I guess, too grand scale.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for me, it's like watching it on a bigger screen. I didn't get the best seats because my theater actually sold out.
Yeah.
But the audio itself was what I was really enjoying.
And you said it sold out. I was actually shocked. My friend and I went to a movie theater about 45 minutes before.
Yeah.
And they were like, here's your 2 options, like front row. I was like, okay, what about the next one? They're like, same thing. And I was really surprised to see how well it did. And now in its opening weekend.
Well, and I would argue that that's probably something to do with how AMC's handling independent movies right now, which we covered last week on our news, which was, I think we talked about it last week. We didn't.
No, we did.
But yeah, it's just that AMC is now doing artisan features. And so these smaller movies are getting a lot of more promotion. And with this movie, what was interesting for me, and I'm curious to hear what Mike's experience was in this theater. Most of my theater were full of 50 plus people. There was a lot of wheelchairs in my theater.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Same
somebody
here.
fell asleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it was like because the guy was old. It wasn't because he was bored by the movie. So for me, my audience was a lot of elderly, more Beatles fans familiar, and then there was me and my sister, my mom, who were like singing along quietly because we love the Beatles. What was your theater experiences like?
So with mine, there was just a group in there that was just like, I don't know if they were. It was a group that was just like talking at full volume during the trailers.
Oh,
and it's kind
wonderful.
of. Yeah, and it's kind of like, it's like, okay, if this happens during the movie, like, it's going to be a problem. Yeah. So, but they didn't do that during the movie, but they were just disruptive enough that it was frustrating. But they weren't too disruptive where, like, the workers could just come and kick them out.
Gotcha.
So it was where it's just kind of like laughing at things that are clearly, like, it's clearly not a funny point of the film.
Yeah.
And they're like laughing hysterically.
Yeah.
And I get it. They're in their own world and they're enjoying it. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was just overly.
It was distracting.
Yeah, it was super distracting. Yeah.
What was your audience like?
It was actually really similar. My friend Nathan and I were probably the youngest ones on there by at least like 30 years, which was really cool to see. One, like we talk about more of like an indie director, who like not really, but he does more indie movies, getting that kind of older following,
right?
But it's like I love with the older crowd. A lot of times you'll get the ones who just kind of like, oh wow, just to themselves during the movie, they'll be like, oh, you got to be kidding me. It's just stuff like that and so it's like as long as they're not being disruptive, I know it can kind of enhance those moments too, like when like something like jarring happens and they're like, oh shoot, and it's just like I feel that way too.
Do you think a lot of it also had to do with the music of the Beatles?
I think it has a whole bunch to do with it.
If it wasn't the Beatles, if it was like, I don't know, like a Pearl Jam or Linkin Park or just any other popular band, no, it would not. People, no. So not to say those bands are not as good. It's just that the Beatles have such a cult following. Not even cult following. It's just like you're born and you're just kind of, you already know about the Beatles. You already know about
they're part of, they are part of, I would argue, right, and I think this movie does a really good job of explaining this, they're part of the zeitgeist. They're part of the cultural DNA. Mm-hmm. One thing that John Lennon got in trouble for back in when he came out, right, I think 1960s, was that he said that, we're more famous than God. And he got into a lot of trouble for that. But I would say that, like, the music translates to all cultures, and what he was talking about was like, hey, we're listened to by everyone,
super accessible.
And it's because even at that, like, there's a moment in the movie, right, where he sings the first song, Yesterday, and it's in the trailer, I think, and there's a moment where like Lily James's eyes tear up, and she's like, please continue, and he's like, all right, I'll keep going. and it's like, it's that moment of the music itself speaking to your soul, and that's, I mean, especially for me, who I grew up listening to the Beatles, watching Lily James' experience of that was same as mine when I was a kid, listening to Yesterday for the first time, and just going like, what is this? This is speaking to me on levels that I don't understand, but I really truly love it. And I think that this movie does that job of just really kind of like creatively showing you, well, what if, right?
Well, Z, welcome. You have now enjoyed a musical.
It's not like that. It's not like that at all. It is so not.
That is exactly how a musical is.
But
he's rewinding real quick. Like, no, I hated it.
No. But I actually know there was one other music. There was a Beatles musical that was released.
Across the Universe.
Across the Universe.
It's really, which would be a good double feature.
Yeah, I would say it would be a good double feature of watching this first, then watching Across the Universe, and then just as a triple feature, finish with I Am Sam, because that's another movie that utilizes the Beatles songs. Again, I know these movies because I love them so much. Because again, the music it translates. And I think what makes this movie that much more brilliant is the acting in this, because.
Which
we'll
get to.
No. But just before we even get to it, but just saying, like, the musician in this movie isn't the best representation of the music of the Beatles, because his voice doesn't sound a lot
like them.
Them. But it doesn't matter, because the lyrics, the music, the way that it was all designed by John, Paul, Ringo, and George, it just speaks through. And I think that this movie does a really good job of doing that.
Yeah.
Very nice. We do have a couple of comments, all from Christopher A. Velasco. Hey, Christopher.
Hey, Chris.
Hey. Hi, Christopher.
He says it's all about you, Z, by the way.
Oh shit.
He says, "Wake up, Z. Stop making the Beatles happen. They're never gonna happen.
Oh, okay.
They happened.
They've happened."
And then he got excited when we met Chiquin Torta.
All right.
Yay.
We know where his priorities lie.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk. So you mentioned that this film is a romantic comedy. How is the chemistry between Lily James and Hamish
Patel? Yeah.
Now, the way that it seems, like from the trailer at least, it seems like he has loved this girl, and then he was like, "Oh, she could never love me."
Yeah.
And now that he made it big, like she always loved him, but like now that he's famous, he doesn't have time for her.
That's not. No. That's nowhere near remotely what the story is.
The trailer promoted it in a really weird way that I almost wasn't too excited to see it. I was like, this seems like it's like kind of by the books, corny rom-com, and then once it like finally kind of dives into it, it's a rom-com. So there's a level of cheese that you can expect, but this one they kind of changed it up where it's really not what you think it is from the trailers.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure. Yeah. I think that in a way, I think it's a good thing that they hid that part.
I agree.
And I agree. And you get the dynamic very early on in the film. It's like, oh, that's what it is. And then to watch that unfold and without giving anything away, I thought that was an interesting take on it.
Let me break out my degree in rom-coms. This movie, the chemistry between these two, you get it right off the bat.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, as soon as he's singing his summer song, which is it's a good song. It's just atrocious. It's just they make fun of the song later in the movie.
Yeah.
But you see her looking at him, and you can tell Lily James is a brilliant actor, and you can really tell right away that she's emoting and she's expressing like she's in love with him. And then when he's interacting with her, and it's like this very like sort of like very. I would say not even overplayed flirtatious behavior.
Yeah.
Because you can tell that he respects her and he loves her, but he doesn't know how to convey those words. And again, this is a movie about the Beatles, which is the quintessential language of love, right? Like you can sing a Beatles song to somebody, and
there's a show in Vegas called Love, and it's based on all the Beatles music.
I have seen it. It's brilliant. And you can tell that the songs are inadvertently conveying his love for her, but he hasn't gotten there yet. He hasn't figured that out yet. And there are like moments in this movie where like they get interrupted so much in a Richard Curtis way. But it's like all he needs to do is sing a Beatles song to her, and he can explain how he genuinely feels. So the chemistry is there. It's not about like that he didn't have time for her. It's more about like these are two people who grew up together who then didn't realize were falling in love, and when they get to that moment, they don't know how to tell each other that. And I think it was realistic. Yeah. I thought it had a realism for it, and without spoiling it, it really did a very realistic approach of like, hey, relationships are messy, and this is what it looks like.
Yeah.
In only a way that Richard Curtis can do.
And another thing I was really interested in is how did they incorporate the Beatles music? Was it all live performance? Was there like any like musical singing involved?
No.
Was there any tracks or anything?
I was surprised at actually how little the Beatles music was in it.
Yeah.
It was a lot more of like Daniel Pemberton's score and like other music.
Yeah.
It was like the Beatles were pretty spare. Like in all total, I think we hear maybe 5 songs? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, but
maybe because it's
whole
expensive?
Songs. Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like he might like start humming a tune here and there, and like, so that's kind of consistent.
Yeah.
But actual moments where we get full songs, it's
I would say you hear about 5 full songs, but
and then tunes and maybe like references throughout. Like someone might quote a song.
So there is in the trailer, and I'm very curious, but again, try to say this either yes or no, because no spoiler. But was in the trailer, there's a moment where he's on a talk show, and there's people who say he stole the music, and then you see these people's feet and one's like barefoot.
Yeah.
Was that a good payoff, a good moment, or was it like
no? That was
I would say that's a mislead.
It's a mislead. It's a mislead. Yeah,
okay. It was definitely a moment for the trailer.
Yeah,
even in the film itself, like.
And I would say let's just spoil that. That doesn't actually. That's a fever dream. But I think that was
it's a fever dream.
Yeah. But I think that was an inclusion in there to kind of like amplify the trailer itself.
I agree.
In the movie, you really see a lot more of his like the guilt. Because he is so guilty over taking credit for all these songs, and there's a subplot in the movie of not just him but others who didn't lose the Beatles, and so you do get to see a different portion of that, and I think it handles it really well. I think that like you would feel guilty over taking someone else's songs.
Yeah.
No, Richard Curtis, he did About Time, he did all these other films. Is it About Time? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But
which is a great movie.
Yeah. So he actually infused this sci-fi element with this rom-com element.
Which I'd say it's like sci-fi is very loose.
But the sci-fi like in About Time is very arbitrary. It's not really explained.
Yes.
Is the same thing for this film? Like the blackout of everything, is that explained at all?
They do everything they can to never even touch on it again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which it happens.
Which I don't mind actually.
It happens. It leads to a comedic situation. And then you forget about it, and it only comes up anytime. Again, it's used comedically. Anytime he realizes that something is off. So I don't want to spoil it because it's just really funny. But I think that this, like, as you were saying, like the sci-fi elements just simply like very loosely touched on. Nobody refers to it except for the lead character.
And I think the movie itself is aware that it's like there's no way to answer this question without sitting down and at the chalkboard, and it's like, well, what happened here, and then this and this. So it's like, let's just move up. Let's move along. And I appreciate that actually.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And as you guys had mentioned before, the less it's talked about, the better.
Which is good sci-fi.
Yeah,
which is good sci-fi.
Yeah.
And not to say that you don't walk away from this movie going like, I want to piece all these things together, because I was definitely walking away going like, oh man, I wonder what led to the Beatles not being remembered.
But then this, I don't know if this is really a spoiler. If it is, I'm sorry, but there's like other things they incorporate along the way.
That's exactly what I was about to mention. Yeah.
It's like other things that because the Beatles didn't exist, neither do these things.
Yeah.
And so my friend and I are driving
like
home.
See,
I was doing that too.
We were like, okay, wait, trying to like get in the yarn and connect.
That's exactly the reaction I had.
And so my friend Nathan, he was just like, let's just assume it's random and not worry about it. I was like, okay. But so I thought that was a really neat incorporation too, because that's going into it. I was like, that butterfly effect kind of mentality. I'm like, there would obviously be some change in events, and it shows that.
Do Paul McCartney? I mean,
no.
We can't.
We can't answer that.
It's spoiler.
Yeah, that's definitely a spoiler. Yeah, and you don't need to know.
This if they live in the universe?
Again, that's entirely
spoiler.
I think that's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gonna just end that right there.
Yeah.
So, talk about things that they could have improved on. Things that you're like,
one of the things they could have improved on was there's a choice that the lead character has between like there's this battle between like love and fame.
Yeah.
And I think it's
only touched upon lightly.
No.
It focuses hard.
And I think in reality there could have been both in some way.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of like the either or presentation, which I didn't enjoy as much.
But see, I mean, one, it shows growth, so it was a good character arc for him. But I think what I enjoyed the most was just, if the Beatles were to arise today, right, because if you know anything about the history of the Beatles, right, they were just simply like boys playing in Germany, and then they got famous there, and then they started to like make their albums, right? Like it was like a progression. The music industry wasn't fully established like it currently is. So what if you took them out of that and put them in present time? where now the music industry is a machine. And there's a joke that Kate McKinnon throws where she's like, yeah, we'll make you a lot of money, but we'll steal most of it. And then she starts laughing, and you're like, yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happens in the music industry now, is that people get used. And you have the pairing of Ed Sheeran in this movie, which, you know, is interesting because he's in this movie a whole lot more than I expected him to be in.
Yeah.
But I think he does provide a good counterpoint that Fame kind of sucks, and it does a really good job of kind of like showing you this dilemma of like, can you choose love versus fame, and is that a fair question to ask? And I think I really enjoyed that interplay of those two things.
I think touching on that though, if we're gonna like that, they kept like dipping their toe into like the harsh reality of the music industry, but then would never follow through.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing.
Could have gone more.
I'm like, don't dip your toe or dive in. Like that for me. So it's like Kate McKinnon at the end of it was like felt really just like a side character, and it was like,
was it more wasted than anything?
I felt so.
Yeah. Well, I would say that she was there for. I mean, listen, it's Kate McKinnon. This movie is a rom-com, and it does a really good job of focusing on the com, because it's I was laughing throughout it. It's
pretty funny.
Kate McKinnon shows up, and immediately you're like, oh, we're in for it. And Kate McKinnon is the most Kate McKinnon since probably Ghostbusters.
Danny let her, you could tell, improv a lot.
Yeah. And
which isn't a bad thing.
No.
She's very good at it, but it is to an extent too. It feels a little tonally awkward.
Yeah.
Because the other comedy is pretty sharp and like already like toned to the movie.
Yeah.
And then she comes in and does her own thing, and it's again not bad, but it was just felt more of not a waste of having her presence, but it was like, I think a little direction could have helped.
Yeah, no,
just
I
her character and her performance, because at the end of it, you feel like she was just a little bit of a hollow antagonist.
Yeah. And it's something that the movie needed, because it was like, oh, okay, we're now progressing. Where does the bad guy come in? And since you love Bohemian Rhapsody, Dan, it was very similar to The Record Artists. Kate McKinnon plays that role.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I've heard enough. Can I get some final thoughts? Or was that your final thoughts? Overall, just summary of what you thought of the film.
I thought it was a really cool collaboration between Danny and, like, so for instance, he had just shot with Christopher Ross, the cinematographer, the TV show Trust. And so this was the first movie that they had done together. And so it was like a really cool seeing them work together. He brought back the composer for Steve Jobs.
Nice.
And so it was kind of cool seeing like picking and choosing and trying to dissect why he chose those people. But overall, I think it was a really fun product, and it's very individual to his other movies. So that's all I have to say.
Nice. Z?
Yeah, I would say that like this movie is gonna it's hard to say this movie is gonna be like the sleeper hit, but I do feel like if a lot of people don't watch it, then it will be one of those like hidden gems because it wasn't publicized well enough.
That's a lot of his movies.
We've had that a lot this summer so far. We had like The Long Shot, Booksmart, Late Night. That's like a thing that's been going on this summer.
Yeah, no, exactly.
These little gems that are.
It's hard to compete though with marketing though. When like it's a summer of blockbusters, it's like you really like can't afford to.
Well, and Dan, before we were even on like the air, you mentioned like Kate McKinnon's a big name, and I would argue that actually I would say that Himesh is, but because he is ethnic and because he's not a star that we know about, right? Like Dev Patel, for example, we know a Dev Patel movie we'd all go watch because we know who he is. Himesh is fairly new, and I think he carries a movie on his own, and absolutely. I was surprised and at the same time just in awe of his ability to play against all these like big actors and do such a great job. So I would say go watch it, support this movie.
Yes.
Because it is a movie that is, for all apparent purposes, an indie in comparison to the blockbuster summer.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Also, Mike?
Yeah, it's a great indie film, and I love that you get to see the journey of the musician of like struggling to like playing huge stadiums, and you're on the ride with him, and yeah, it's fun all the way. Great music. Definitely go support the film. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Oh, and just for one final note, sorry, I completely forgot about this. So this movie is actually based on an idea by Jack Barth. because he was talking to Richard Curtis, and he threw this idea of like, what if the Beatles, right, didn't exist? And this movie, I mean, Richard Curtis, all credit to the fact that he is such a humble dude. He heard this, I think, at a party, and he was like, that's a brilliant idea. He wrote the script, and because he felt like he was too close to direct this, he gave it to his friend Danny Boyle to direct.
Wow. That's cool.
So the journey of the script itself is kind of fun because, you know, Richard Curtis can direct really well, but he was like, I can't direct this because I can't make it as perfect as I want to. Right. So the whole
so you bring in Danny.
Yeah. So he brings in Danny, and he's like, here, can you take this?
Wow.
And Danny Boyle, like, who is amazing, was like, I want this. And so this movie is a great result of good inspiration and just the, good people being around a good script and saying, hey, that guy, Jack Barth, had a really good idea. Let's run with it.
And, like piggybacking on that, when Danny was let go or stepped away from James Bond, whatever happened there, I was like, shit, we're not going to see Danny for a while.
Yeah.
And it was really refreshing to see. It's like, oh, we're going to see Danny and something so opposite of James Bond that it's like, cool.
Well, it makes sense why, like, there was talks about there being a new 28 Days Later, third installment.
Yeah. They just confirmed it,
Yeah, I was just like, wow, they just, did Dan Boyle just say that out of nowhere? But now I get it. They were interviewing him for
publicity.
Yesterday.
There you go.
Publicity tour.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. I can't believe I didn't know that. We do have a final comment from Christopher Velasco.
Of course.
Hello.
Is he talking about?
He's talking about you.
Oh, okay.
He says, I'm not surprised Z loved this film. He also loved Paper Towns.
Yes, as I said, the degree is on rom-coms. You're welcome.
Okay, so I have decided on the rating, and I'm going to go with actually dining and watching in theaters. Actually, I'm going to go see it because actually it does. For me, myself, it's a film that I feel like I would enjoy. And the way you guys described it with the review, I thought it actually might be a worthy theater experience minus Mike's experience. I might not. What time did you go see it? Because I might.
I saw it like near 10 o'clock. I think mine was
okay.
I think mine was like
drunken
just a very late showing.
I think it was an anomaly. I've normally haven't had that experience at that theater.
Okay, probably an anomaly.
But here's the thing. Another real quick note. Dan, you will probably cry. So just be aware. Yeah, my sister was like sobbing, and I was like tearing up.
Just say you cried. It's okay, Z.
No, but
we're a progressive podcast. We do not shame cry.
Oh no, I'm not shaming my sister at all. I looked at her.
I wasn't crying. That was her. Okay.
Yeah, I was like that really pulled at my there was other moments that pulled at my heartstrings. But my sister was crying at one specific scene, and I was like, that was an amazing moment.
And just to piggyback, I'm not at any point saying don't see this in theaters. You should totally see it in theaters. But like for the whole rom-com aspect, there's like nothing better though, like having like some Chinese food and just watching it on your couch, something like that. So that's why that's why I voted.
This is a repeat viewing for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's one that you could watch too, just like to listen to, because the music's so much fun.
So much fun.
Like you're cleaning your house or something, pop it on in the background. So
Netflix or Amazon or one of those, you guys better pick this up.
Yeah, totally.
Well, seriously, if you're watching.
All right, awesome. Of course they're watching.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah. Why did I say if?
We inspire Amazon to do things, so totally.
I don't think they existed before this podcast.
No.
They literally didn't. Because we've been doing this for so long.
Where's the check, Bezos? Like, come on.
On that note, let's go ahead. So we rate yesterday at Dine In. Yeah. So let's go into our next movie review. Movie menu. The next film we're reviewing is Annabelle Comes Home. Written and directed by Gary Dauberman. Story by James Wan. Here's the plot. While babysitting the daughter of Ed and Lorraine Warren, a teenager and her friend unknowingly awaken an evil spirit trapped in a doll. Starring Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, McKenna Grace, Madison Eisman, and Katie Sarif. All right, I have seen this film, so I will be tossing the hosting duties over to a dual hosting duel.
Yeah.
Dual hosting duel.
Okay.
Landon and
does that mean we're gonna fight each other? I feel like because it's dual, it's like that's a fight.
Yeah,
fight to the death on who gets to host.
You can have it. You can have it. It's fine. I don't want to. No.
We might get like some extra viewers out of that, but I don't know if it's the people we want watching.
Well, human sacrifice has shown
too late. Yeah. It has been announced, so you must do it.
All right.
So I will let you guys do the hosting duties as Mike and I have seen this film.
All right.
And it's the same as before.
Yeah.
Keep it spoiler free. Dine in, watch in theaters. Take out, we watch at home. Leftovers.
Touch
get possessed.
all the dolls.
Get touched by all the dolls.
Ooh. That just brought back memories in a really bad way.
Do not.
My grandmother, before she passed away, collected dolls. So I have distinct horror memories of seeing dolls blinking repeatedly at me.
I'm glad that's where the story went. I was expecting something very different.
And they all touched me.
I think we all have that one creepy porcelain doll memory. It's like, Grandma, why do you have this?
Why would you?
What's the story?
It's an interesting lineup because last week we did Child's Play and Toy Story, and now this week we have Annabelle.
This would have been a good weekend for it should have been released with Toy Story, right? That should have been the actual play.
Yeah.
But no, we have this.
It's a weird kind of backtracking all the releases coming out because none of them are really sweeping.
Nope.
They're all just kind of equally people are just picking and choosing which one. There's none that's going above and beyond. Maybe Toy Story.
Yeah, I think Toy Story, but I also think that,
even Toy Story is didn't even do.
It didn't do as well.
I think because everyone was just like, why?
Yeah. No, and I would say go watch it. It's so much good.
Really?
It's so good. Yeah.
We have a couple of comments. Lisa Garza.
Hey.
She's looking forward to seeing it.
But why?
I have witnessed. Christopher Velasco says he has witnessed the film. Gumby moves behind you, and Alexis says scaring the kids with this movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Z.
All right. So let's take
Landon. You guys are the host.
Yeah. Here we go. Cool. So rate this film, Mike.
Yes, Mike.
Okay. You know what? I'm the.
That's a great start.
So it's a battle for me between dine-in and takeout.
Okay.
So
just choose one. Just choose one.
Right,
choose. Don't listen to Dan. Just choose one.
I'm gonna go with dine-in.
Okay.
Yes.
Because it's a fun movie, but this is totally different than the other Annabelles, and I think this
in a good or bad way.
It depends. It's actually a little more kid friendly, I think.
Oh no.
Yeah, a little bit. Like you do get a stabbing. But
is it a PG-13?
I don't. It definitely has a PG-13 feel. Whoa. But I don't think it's definitely less rated R than the other Annabelles.
Okay, so
for sure.
So you're dining in because
no, I'm not dining in because of that.
Yeah,
I'm saying that it's totally different. I'm dining in because it was still a fun movie to watch.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dan? Yeah. This movie's a motherfucking dine in.
What?
I was really surprised. I'm more surprised than you are. Really actually.
It was fun.
It was not only was it fun, the way that the director made this film is almost like a horror masterpiece in the sense that a lot of things were
hold on. You're saying a horror masterpiece.
Because a lot of it was practical effects.
Okay. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it wasn't CGI'd, and
that's good.
When there's moments in the beginning where the Warrens are in a car and the car breaks down next to a cemetery and stuff happens, and I'm just like, okay, this is pretty cool. Whatever, that's a cool intro. And then as soon as the girl you see in the trailer touches everything, whatever,
rephrase
touches
that.
Everything in the artifact room.
Okay.
And unleashes Annabelle. There is a moment with the wedding dress that you just see. I was like, okay, I'm in. This is awesome.
Okay.
My theater was packed. It was a fun film, and it's the best Annabelle film there is.
I'm gonna confer with my co-host over here. What you buying this?
Landon.
It sounds like what you're saying is just because it looks nice is the main reason you would go see it. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but you're just saying go see it in theaters because it's very visually pleasing.
It is. It's very visual pleasing. The horror itself is not all just jump scares.
I was going to ask.
They linger.
Yeah.
I would say there's probably two or three jump scares in the whole film.
There's more.
In comparison, how many are there normally?
But there's linger.
A lot.
Because I haven't seen any of the movies in this series.
Yeah. This is. I'm sorry. Let's go back a little bit. This is all within the Warrens cinematic universe, right?
Right. Well, it's really realistically just in their home. It's whatever that was in the artifact room. So you get a first glimpse of the artifact room in the first Conjuring film.
Yes.
And then in this film, they dive more into which I really enjoyed as well, was the story of they expand on the lore of all the stuff in the artifacts room. There's this character. Is it a spoiler to list the names of the people?
Of the different objects?
Yeah.
Hold on, but I've got a question anyway. Because Let's talk about the movie because
we are talking about the movie.
But no,
this is part of the movie.
But I feel like that's a discussion that we want to have at the very end. Like, where do you see this movie going? Right, where the next sequel is going to happen?
I think Dan was actually going to talk. So there's actually different like mini characters within this.
So the funny thing is, like,
is it like a vignette film?
Annabelle is not even like the main lead, and like she is, but she's not.
So there's Annabelle is just one of the many artifacts in the room that have spirits. So this film isn't not.
It's like Annabelle awakens all the spirits within these artifacts.
So does it feel like it's setting up for each of those artifacts to get their own movie? Then?
I hope so, because some of them were pretty amazing.
So it's almost like a Pandora's box.
Okay.
So when that happens, like you experience like the power of all the artifacts that are in there. So you get a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So Annabelle,
Cabin in the Woods style, like
yeah. Cabin, that's a great reference. It's
reference.
exactly like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, would you say? So you're saying, like, I'm trying to phrase it properly. There's so many movies in this series at this point. Do you feel like any of them are filler, or do you feel like each one is a crucial new
do we need
addition, or could you skip some of them?
Oh, absolutely. You could absolutely skip The Nun. You can absolutely skip the very first
and that's
Annabelle.
Supposed to be the first one in the series, correct?
No, it's not
chronologically.
Chronologically, in terms of timeline,
yeah. Their time, yeah.
The
that's right, because The Nun takes place prior to the Warren.
You had
stories.
that timeline up earlier. Do you still have it?
I don't, but it was The Nun,
uh-huh.
and then it was Annabelle creation,
right,
and then
The Conjuring 1.
Annabelle, it was Annabelle.
How many movies are there in just the specific Annabelle series? 3.
Oh, the Annabelle series, yeah.
It's
this
Annabelle.
Is
Annabelle comes home, and then Annabelle.
That's right.
What? Resurrection.
Annabelle creation.
Yeah.
And then so I would say the two to watch for sure.
Yeah.
I think are like the best representation of or what I enjoyed the most about it was I would say the second Annabelle and The Conjuring 2.
Yeah, The Conjuring 2 was a solid horror.
You saw that as well, right?
I loved that one.
You need to see the first one to understand Conjuring 2?
I mean,
probably.
I don't know.
I don't think you have to. Yeah, I don't think you have to.
I don't
watch
think you have
Notes
to.
or something.
Yeah, you can watch Conjuring 2 because I think it does a really good sort of like here's where the Warrens are at.
It was it was very 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 creatively. There were a lot of very creative scenes.
And you know what? I would feel like like the director took a page from Mike Doherty, and this is a very reminiscent.
Right, because Michael Doherty did Annabelle creation.
So has there been a new director each movie, or has there been a consistent director?
No, it's with the exception of James Wan, who has been screenwriting a lot of these movies.
Okay.
Right, because James Wan did Conjuring 2. He helped with the development of the Annabelle creation movie, and Michael Doherty is the guy who
Sorry,
did.
I meant Mike Flanagan.
Thank you. I was gonna say Doherty doesn't sound right. Flanagan, yeah.
Flanagan from. So this is very similar to
he's doing
The Haunting of Hill House.
It did have that feel. Yeah, The Haunting of Hill House.
I think he's also doing.
So
Dr.
if you enjoy The Haunting of Hill House, this is a good representation, and it's funny because the Warrens, they're in the beginning of the film, and they have a cool intro with that. But then it really focuses on their daughter, Judy.
Yeah.
And the girl who plays the daughter, it was also in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
And it's the tone for that, I feel like it's more elusive. I think it was good towards this film.
Yeah, I would say like this. I would say The Haunting of Hill House is actually heavier than.
Well, it has a lot more time to build, but there was.
Or what I mean by that is in terms of like
grief.
Not in terms of grief, but in terms of like the things that are scaring you. I would think that The Haunting of Hill House is
more than the ferryman. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that gets like. I mean, the
bent neck lady is pretty intense. So I'm just gonna say that that was a pretty intense. Scary.
I think. Bent neck. If you haven't seen Haunting of Hill House, you have no idea what we're talking about. But
I'm very confused.
Watch it. It's so good.
In The Haunting of Hill House, there's and it's not spoiler because you get it in the first episode of the series.
First episode.
There's this ghost with a broken neck, and this little girl sees this ghost, and she doesn't know how to describe this ghost to her parents, so she calls her the bent neck lady. And it's
horrifying.
It's super
incredibly.
It's super, super horrifying in a very amazing way to introduce the whole series. So just that alone, I think, is way more intense than anything you would see in this Annabelle film.
Gotcha.
So although there are like creepy moments, I think it's like it feels like it's almost a kids film, almost.
Huh. I'm so confused by your term.
By kids, what do you mean by kids?
It's like rated R.
So 10. What I would mean?
Well, no, because they focus on the children. So the children are the lead actors. So whereas The Conjuring and other films have all been adults.
Yeah. Okay, so what? Sorry, I'm going to ask Mike. So what you're saying is that this is an adult movie, but it uses kids to tell that story.
That what I mean by when I say kids film, I mean it's like for the most part it's clean, like a PG-13 film, like with the exception of like. I think there's one scene where
the shanking scene.
There is a shanking scene. Yeah, yeah. They're in a prison, and there's this guy. He has a spork. And
nice.
No.
That's Toy Story 4.
It's Forky.
Getting your movies mixed up here.
Trash. Stab.
No, but so what I mean is that it's like for the most part it's like a clean film. Like it almost reminds me of like how. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is getting like creepier. I feel like Annabelle is like similar in tone.
Okay.
Like where Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is like it's obviously like made for kids, but it's kind of like gone to this next step in terms of its creepiness.
Yes.
So like I feel like this Annabelle film kind of taken its step back to match that same level of creepiness. So
it's not gratuitous. So for me, I think it was real subtle. Like you had to pay attention in this film, which was cool because there were a lot of things that and there was like a lot of fake outs. Like you think you know, you think you know that okay, they're showing this. There's gonna be a jump scare, and then boom, there's not. And it switches it up. So and it does tension really well.
Okay,
and I think that's where the horror comes from. It's not so much.
I agree. Yeah,
where it's not like boo.
That's Mike Flanagan, right?
They do have some, but the most of it is tension building. Is just your suspension and waiting for this moment to happen, and you're just trying to see the moment and see where it goes. But in doing so, there's these little things in the background that heighten the experience as well. It's great. It's really cool. And
so
it
pays to pay attention.
Right. It's like there's a board game, there's a TV, there's these coins, there's all this other stuff, this little monkey thing. It's like a fun thing to notice as the horror is going on. There's also horror in the background.
Got it. Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this movie has child actors, and I think we talked about this last week. Child actors are hit or miss.
It was for me. It was a hit.
The leads are great.
Yeah, the acting was very well done.
So we have McKenna Grace playing Jodie, Madison Eisman, and
Katie. I think Judy.
You're right, Judy. And Katie Sarif, and Katie Sarif, you guys were going like she's the one who
that's
touches
Daniela.
everything.
That's the one who touches everything.
Now are they keeping the same kids from all the movie, or do they have to recast each movie?
Every film it's different.
Well, with
I thought there was a specific family we follow.
I would say that there is a cameo of the little girl that was in Annabelle Creation.
Yeah, that's true.
So which you see in the trailer.
Yeah, you do see some of the family, right? The Wilson family, Warren families.
Yeah.
The Warren family. You do see in I think Conjuring 2. Because that's the one where they introduce the nun. You do get to see the daughter, so I'm assuming they recast that.
Probably.
Yeah. But how are the actors in this?
The actors,
McKenna Grace, she leads this film really well. And it's funny because her character is very similar to the character in the Haunted Hill House.
Yeah.
Her character, well, I don't know if it's a spoiler, but she's like an outsider compared to the rest of her peers.
I think it shows early on. I
don't know if it does.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
She's got the shine.
we won't say anything else, I guess.
You're giving it away, but okay.
but I would say I think The Haunting of Hill House or The Conjuring 2 or the second Annabelle are still more intense versions in comparison to this film.
Okay.
You're still going to get it's still a fun film experience, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's the best representation of the series or even that it or say it's a horror classic or anything in that, but you'll still enjoy it for what it is.
I think it's better. I thought this one was better than the other ones.
Really?
I think with each film that they've done, they're finding where Annabelle fits in this universe.
Okay.
And I feel in this film they actually got it right.
Because I was going to say, let's like The Nun. Come on.
The creation was better than the first Annabelle. The first Annabelle sucked. It was terrible. And then the creation, it was a little bit better. It was fun. And this one, like, it nailed it, in my opinion, out of the park.
I think with what you had with creation, you get like people getting ripped in half. That's pretty hardcore.
More gory.
And then that upper body torso is now a zombie, and it's possessed. That's amazing. That was super.
I know this has more suspense.
Like I feel like the horror is just way more intense.
Got it. Okay.
That's like the example of the second Annabelle. And this one there are like you do get possession as well. You do get like I feel like you get these little tastes of like different. The flavors of all these different spirits. Okay. You get a potpourri of an appetizer. No, and there are
potpourri and appetizer. Those don't belong. It's not potato right there.
It doesn't taste very good because
flowers. It smells great, but you eat it and you want to die.
That's exactly.
Yeah. Oh, perfect! You've really convinced us.
There is like,
and then you get possessed.
Yeah. All right.
So you said earlier, and I kind of want to touch on that. You said it was something of like a classic or like
you said
a masterpiece.
A masterpiece. Did you mean in the way it was shot?
Yeah, the way it was shot.
You don't mean it's going to go down as
No.
Okay.
But visually, like this film they really utilize the camera work, lighting, and this practical effects, and I really enjoyed that because they use modern type of angles but they use, like, you could tell, like, if you were to watch it, they just were doing it one shot.
Okay,
which is really cool, and it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
So for them to do it in a horror type of way, and there was a lot of those moments there where it was all like you're following one shot of something going on. It was really cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And this is actually directed by Gary Dauberman, first feature film. So hearing
was
you
he
say
from
that,
TV or from shorts? What did he?
He's got no other credits.
No, he has worked with the other. But as a writer, he's worked on the other films.
Right, he's done writing, yeah.
So it's funny because Simon Kinberg was the first time director for Dark Phoenix, and now we have this one. Yeah, right. And this one has gotten fairly positive reviews.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
all right.
Well, I feel like this whole series has never been like any of them. No one's ever been like these are shit, and no one's ever been like these are the best things. They're just like they're real. It's just a consistent series. Is what I've got from it. It's like no one like loves or I mean there's people who love it, but I've never really met anyone who just hates it. They're like there's ones you really okay. Well, I guess I have to change what I'm saying.
No. I think this one was because there's gratuitous
violence.
No, not in this film, but there's gratuitous horror where there's like ripping and whatnot, which is cool if that's your thing. But in this film, it's more psychological, more suspense.
Because you said that you thought the series was responsible for reviving jump scares.
Yeah,
right?
well, and that's essentially kind of what we got very early on. So The Conjuring 1, couldn't stand Conjuring 1. It was like, all right, cool, interesting premise, but the ending sucked. And then you had Annabelle, the first Annabelle movie, which was like a waste of time. And then you have all the other spin-offs. I think the series really shifted when you had James Wan come in and do Conjuring 2. Yeah. And I remember there's a moment in the Conjuring 2 where I was like...
James Wan did Conjuring 1 too, though, but...
Did he also do 1?
Yes.
Yeah, and it wasn't that
He created this franchise.
Did he really? Okay. I wasn't sure if he actually took part in it. But yes, Conjuring 2 was where I was like, oh, okay.
Do you think he might have gotten more creative freedom? Or what do you
I think he got a little more control over what he was doing. And more importantly, I think they kind of were like, let's create a cinematic universe. And then that led to like an opening of like where we can go with these other individualized stories. They
didn't have to box themselves in anymore. Yeah.
But I would say the inclusion of Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I feel like Mike Flanagan has created a new genre within the horror universe where there is still, like Mike said, there is still jump scares, but with some of the scares, they let it linger.
That's what Mike Flanagan's really good at.
Right, which I appreciate as an audience, and a lot of the people next to me and in front of me and around me, we were just like, no. Oh no! Like just you could hear them being scared, and I haven't been scared in horror film, and I don't even know how long. It's been forever.
Yeah,
there were some moments that got me.
Okay,
that's cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, because I was gonna say Mike Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House was that was a moment where I literally had chills watching it.
And it's only one setting. It's the house.
The house.
Wow,
cool.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, I've got
you
everything
have to
I
be
need
creative.
To know.
Well, I mean, do we want to talk about some of the spirits we see, or is that spoiler?
Screw it. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, let me frame this as a question. Where is this movie, the franchise, going next? What is phase 4 of the?
Did they give you an idea?
No, actually, it doesn't seem like there'd be anything after this film.
Okay,
but
I mean, there is, but
I mean, they'll probably do prequels of everything.
Oh, you think so?
Not anything after.
Okay,
but they introduce these like really fun stuff. There is a board game that's haunted.
Okay.
And
it's like a haunted Jumanji.
Isn't that just Jumanji though?
It's like it's called Philly McNeely.
It's just Philly Millie.
Philly Millie.
That sounds kind of like a very.
That's going to do really well at Spencer's. You already know. They're going to have board games.
Yeah.
They're going to have.
It has a deck of cards on top. You get a picture, and you have to feel around for that object that's there.
That sounds fairly like legalistically bad.
Yeah. And there's the ferryman. Ferry spelled Ferry.
Yes, like the fairy person
who will take you
like
to
Sharon,
the underworld.
who will take you to the underworld.
Right.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
I would say, that was definitely like one of the best.
I guess like the equivalent to like the Crooked Man.
Yeah. Okay.
Like not the same style, but like how the Crooked Man was introduced, and you wanted to know more about the Crooked Man. Like in this film, they introduced the ferryman.
Okay, hold on. I've got a really ridiculous but slightly serious question. Do they ever address why the hell they keep all these objects?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't they just destroy them all or throw them down a pit or something? Like,
how do you get sequels if you do that? Well, what are you talking about?
Good point.
Yeah. Because it ruins the franchise.
Because the things that are in that room are this is to keep the demons at bay. If they were to destroy it, then they would latch onto something else.
I would say a dark pit would take care of that, but okay.
So they just have to be attached to something
right,
physical.
and in the film, they talk about how they have blessings weekly.
Couldn't they attach it to like
a rocket?
Yeah, like a weight, like a really heavy weight that can't move, or like.
And then the ghost wakes up and it's like, man, I'm under sea.
The deflated beach ball. Like,
they explain that Annabelle is that demon that is this is first time on Earth, and that demon usually attaches itself to humans, but that since it attached itself to Annabelle,
it's like the closest it could find or something.
I forgot the whole story.
Don't tell the whole story, man. That's a spoiler.
It's like the spirits don't possess the dolls. They're like beacons of the spirits.
Yeah. Okay.
So like, but
I'm just saying, destroy the damn house.
There's also a really cool use of a TV.
There's a what now?
It was actually pretty cool. It was like
was really cool.
It was like in this old-fashioned TV that told
the
that
future.
it would show you the future of things that would happen, and then as you're seeing,
it's like the what if machine from Futurama.
But the future was only like it was like 5 seconds ahead. So you would see like a horrifying thing happen, and it's like a horrifying thing, and so it's
that's kind of neat.
Because
if it's that far, it's like just inevitable.
Yeah,
at that
it's
point.
right.
Wasn't that the basis of a Nicolas Cage movie? That sounds like a Nicolas Cage movie.
We can make it.
No, I'm pretty sure I've seen that movie.
It wasn't 5 seconds, but yes.
But it was like an hour or something, right?
He can only. I think it was 15
something like that. Yeah.
But I have to say they did. I really enjoyed the spirit that was shown behind the Annabelle doll. And I don't know if that's spoiler.
Yeah.
But it's kind of acknowledged. You see it in the trailer that there's something.
And you see, I mean, if you follow this franchise the whole time, you've seen this spirit throughout the whole series.
You've seen demons too. Yeah.
Oh, so that's not a surprise.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny. It's funny because the setup. I was like that's kind of corny. Like the setup. And then, like, more happens after, and it's like, wow, okay, never mind. That was great.
Well, that's always nice, though. That's subverting expectations.
Yeah. And I think that would...
It happens a lot in this film.
Yeah,
that's always fun.
It was a puppy. It was just a puppy the entire time.
Yeah. No, they did.
I just wanted love.
Yeah, they did. They did exactly as you said. They subverted expectations. I thought it was very well done. Where there's like, it's like, okay, obvious jump scare, and it's not there. Which is I appreciate. But then it's like, God damn it, there was just another jump scare, but it was 5 seconds later. but okay. But I would have to say that there's more than one spirit that was really great in this, like the Annabelle spirit. You've seen it in the trailer. There's like a bride, and then as Dan had mentioned earlier, the ferryman. Yeah. And I think those are probably the three. And there's
the wedding dress is awesome. There's not the bride; it's the wedding dress.
And there's more than that as well.
Right, there's more. There's a lot more.
All right, cool. Thank you. I don't want to hear more than that. All right. So, do you have any more questions, or are we good?
No, it about wraps up.
All right, great. Final thoughts.
It's the greatest movie ever. No,
the greatest movie ever made. No, but in this whole renaissance of horror films that we've been having lately, I feel like this one it really gave it a shot. I think it did a great job.
Oh.
It really not just to go with jump scares, but it does linger, and there is a lot of psychological and suspense in this film.
Yeah.
I do have one question, actually.
Sure.
There's like 6 films in this series now. Would you say it at least ranks in the top 3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mike, that's good.
Final thoughts?
Fun popcorn film to satisfy, like, if you want to see a horror film, but you don't want it to be too intense or too heavy, like this would be one to go with.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Okay.
We have a couple. Oh, go on.
Yeah. No. Go. Let's hear some final thoughts on the.
Okay, so we do have a couple comments. Alexa says, it's a movie worth watching.
Okay.
Chris says, go see this film in theaters because it's a monster mashup film.
Yeah.
I agree with Dan. It was fun and a horror comedy.
Wow, Chris agrees with you.
But not a horror master. He said, but not a horror masterpiece. I agree with Mike that it was very kid-friendly.
Right?
My mom, Lisa mentions my mom has some dolls now.
Oh, yeah.
That inspired her to get them?
Christopher says it was the greatest hits type of film.
Okay.
Do you think, and Lisa said, do you think it's the best so far? Asked too soon. Well, we need to see it. Yeah, all these comments. Okay,
cool. Well, all right. I think, I'm going to give it to you. What do you think?
Since I haven't seen any of the others,
Sure.
I wouldn't say dine in just because I feel like I'd be confused. So I guess I'd do takeout, probably rent them all over a weekend.
Sure, absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
That'll be a very mixed experience.
Yeah, hugely mixed experience.
After about like the second one, you'd probably be like,
You're like, I'm not going to suffer through more.
There should be a good jumping off
I
point.
should mention though that this film you don't need to watch the other ones.
yes.
This would be like a good introduction to the Conjuring universe to begin with.
Oh, okay. I'd still vote takeout then.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to go with dine in. I am now kind of curious. I've been putting off watching Annabelle Creation. Now I feel like I need to go back to watch it. Fine. So
if you're gonna force them.
Yeah. I should probably just kind of I do love horror movies. I love feeling scared. I just, with the exception of a couple of modern movies, I haven't actually found anything that's worth my time. So yeah, I think I'm gonna watch Creation, and then I'll probably watch this one in theaters when I get a chance.
Nice.
So I'm going to say this movie is worth a dine-in. Go watch it in theaters.
All right, we did it.
You guys do not get anything.
I'm shocked. Me
too. This is a hard battle.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Maybe because it was 2 against 1. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
2 against 2.
2 against 2.
2 against 2.
I mean, technically, you got to take out.
We got one. Yeah, we got one.
Yeah. So you guys didn't really win this.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Just got to remind them. It's like, you guys didn't win.
You guys still failed.
All right, man. Throw the hosting dudes back to Dan.
On that note, thank you. We go ahead and rate this a dine-in / takeout for Annabelle Comes Home. Thank you so much, Landon, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Again, be on the lookout for his special interview episode that will be released very soon.
Can't wait.
Landon, is there if anyone wants to follow your work or anything, is there a place that they can go?
Yeah, you can always go on landoncoats.com. That's LANDONCOATS, or follow me at CoatesMagoats on Instagram.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Z, as well, for hosting.
Yeah, thanks, Z.
Thank you.
And thank you so much again, Landon, for hosting as well.
Absolutely. It was a blast.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks for just
for
being
nothing.
here. Yeah.
Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for participating.
Yeah.
You get a participation award. I'm taking it back. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Man Reviews. Thank you guys so much for watching us live. And if you're listening to us again on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you listen to your podcast, thank you. We appreciate it. Make sure you check out our website at moviemenupodcast.com and follow us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube channel. We are everywhere. You cannot get rid of us. Until next time, guys. Goodbye.
2, 3, 4.
You gotta burn the mattress, you guys.